The future of finance is tokenized. He says this will be bigger and bigger in the coming years, starting with stocks, the asset class with the most potential. So they're obviously, Ondo's been talking about, I've been talking to y'all about it, treasuries, gold, real estate, bonds, the whole nine. That's what they're tokenizing. And stocks and ETFs are obviously the most attractive. So Robinhood is pushing. He is making the app a one and all app for finance, for banking, for trading, for investing, for private equity. So that's what happened. Y'all let me know what y'all think about the Robinhood app and what Vlad has just said. All right, some more Ondo finance news. Regulatory clarity will unleash the full potential of tokenization. Quote, "We will not let fear of the future trap us in the past." Much respect. At the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia, SEC Chairman Paul Atkins, I just talked about him, outlined the next phase of Project Crypto, laying the foundation for clear, modern rules around digital assets and tokenized markets. At Ondo, we're encouraged to see progress towards a clear framework that lets innovators and institutions build with confidence. So here's a quote from Paul S. Atkins, the SEC chair. "In a free society, the rules that govern economic life should be knowable, reasoned, and appropriately constrained. When we stretch the securities laws beyond their proper scope, when we treat every innovation as presumptuously suspect, we stray from that core principle. When we recognize the limits of our authority, when we acknowledge that investment contracts can end and networks can stand on their own merits, we honor it." Basically, he said, we in a free market, we in capitalism, let innovation innovate and let us get out the way and make sure that everything is knowable, everything is reasonable, everything is clear, so we can keep this free society going. So much respect. Tokenization is entering the mainstream. That's what we're talking about today. Today, Ondo's Nathan, he's the CEO, joins leaders from BlackRock, which is their backers, Morgan Stanley, and Coinbase at the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia to explore tokenization's roles in finance, a timely discussion on the transformation of capital markets. So that quote too right there was, all about what they're happening. Got to get the Federal Reserve on board. We got to get the government on board. And, the chain links, the Ondos, the Coinbases, they're really focused on getting this to happen. And so more conferences, more panels. This panel here, Tokenizing the World, exploring the potential of putting assets on the blockchain. And I thought this one was interesting. So the SmartCon was the Chainlink event that happened recently. To the trillions of tokenized markets, to the scale to trillions, tokenized markets must exceed traditional standards. Quote, "Delivering liquidity that's as good as traditional markets is a top priority." So let's hear what Nathan has to say.
So when you look ahead, how do you see tokenization evolving over the next few years? Are there milestones that would benchmark that success to?
We look at, number of users, number of distribution channels, like total value on chain. I mean, I think making sure that, I think it's table stakes that tokenized stocks are at least as good as their regular stocks. So like price impact, access to leverage, like really until we launched global markets 6 weeks ago, if you wanted to buy a tokenized stock, the price impact, as an example, to buy $100,000 worth of Tesla on, the previously leading platform, you'd have like 2% price impact versus it's like 2 bips in regular markets. So like making sure that, we continue to deliver liquidity that is as good as traditional markets, and that's something we track really, really closely. That's going to continue to be really important.
So Nathan breaks it all down. What you really need is liquidity. You don't want a 2% through 5% of slippage where you're spending $100,000 and you're only getting $95,000 worth of product. That is a no-go for almost everybody. When you're trading as well, you want your bid and your ask spread to be a lot closer, so that way you don't lose money on the trade in general. Then you got to get more upside or downside if you're taking a put to get your money back. So they are working on that. Everything's in discussion. liquidity does drive the markets. Now, to finally close out this discussion about Ondo Finance and what they're working on, this one's interesting to me. It says, we're excited to announce that Ondo Finance has appointed Onboard, former head of digital assets at McKinsey, as president. McKinsey, if you know anything about McKinsey, McKinsey's hands as a company is in everything. They move and shake behind the scenes. They have a lot of influence, and their former head of digital assets is now the president at Ondo Finance, which means he can make phone calls. He got a lot of connections and he knows what's going on for business development. Under Ian's leadership, Ondo will usher in the institutional era of tokenization, accelerating our reach and impact across global markets. He says we're ushering in the institutional era of blockchain, and I definitely see that happening.
Passive income, gold in my dental, thank God for my mental. Investor fundamentals, told my girl it was simple.